Hello everyone and welcome back to a new episode of Let's Build Allure Hills with me, Blue Spirit. We're back in the park, or well, not actually back in the park, and why that is and how it's going to work out, everything. I will explain that in a little bit, but I want to thank you all so much for watching this video, so let's get to work. And so just sit back, relax, enjoy, and I'll see you in a second. So yeah, welcome back guys in Allure Hills, as I said, and this time we are going to take a different approach at the park. If you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen or read this already, but I completely started over with the park, and because as said previously, and why I stopped with new episodes of Allure Hills and why I started with Rock, which debuted a couple of weeks ago. I wasn't really happy with how the park looked and how it felt and how it was created and everything. To make it short, it was a little bit of it was too much of a Disney park to me, which is not really a bad thing, but because this isn't a Disney park originally, I don't want it to feel like one. And all the rides and areas that I made so far were pretty much based on Disney rides itself, which I was pretty happy with and how it looked and everything. Just wasn't my intention in the beginning, and well, that wasn't really the best thing I could do. And when I wanted to start with new areas, it just didn't feel the way I wanted it, and it didn't feel how it should be, in my opinion. Which is why that I now start over. Also because I had some problems with the park layout, which I had so far. And this is the opportunity I have to actually start over and, well, make a better park layout in a sense, and make a better park and make it more original in a sense. Of course, this doesn't mean at all that all the things that we previously built actually in the park is all gone. Some buildings and some areas and some attractions will return in this version of Allure Hills. It's just that some small things, or some big things actually, will change, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I wanted to talk about what I want to do with this park. So as I explained, I want to make it more original. I want to make it more have its own feel and have its own ID and atmosphere around it, and I don't want it to be such a Disney thing, because Allure Hills, in what I intend to do with it, is nothing like Disney. Of course, it's well themed and there is a whole lot of storytelling, but it isn't in the Disney sense, or at least it kind of is, but it's also its own thing, and that's what the strength is of Allure Hills, or at least what it is in my head. But basically, what I wanted to do with this rebuild is make it more original and make it more something of its own. So that's what I'm going to do, or what I'm going to try. Of course, like I said, some things will return in the park, and the main street will be the best example of that actually, because it will most likely be the same, especially the theme of it and the buildings that we started. The main street itself, or the main square actually I should say, is still very much inspired by the Disney California Adventure, Buena Vista Street, which is there. So most of the buildings are still the same, except again I changed the layout a little bit and the orientation, and I kept it a little bit smaller. It's just a main square right now instead of an entire street with plazas and things and lots of shops and buildings to do, because I felt that there is one really strong point in that main street itself, in the real life street, and after that it's not really much. It's not really how should I say it? Well, it breathes a lot of atmosphere in one part, and in the other part it's a little bit different. It's a little bit gone away in my opinion, and I will try to focus on the side which I preferably like myself. So that's the one, and that's the beginning of the street actually. When you're entering the park, that's the part which I will begin with, and that which will be featured mostly. But what I started with this park was the entrance, and that's mostly the biggest thing, biggest change for this park, because it's looking entirely different than the previous entrance. Of course, that one wasn't really an entrance of anything. It's just a small little thing that I built, and it wasn't really much. But I wanted to start with the ticket booths and the entrance and the parking lot, because I had the idea for a parking lot in the previous version. But because I started with the main street the previous time, I didn't really have anything or any room left for the parking lot and a good entrance. So I was like, okay, next time I build a park or start over, I'm going to start with the parking lot and the entrance first, and then start with all the rest. So that's what I did. And I didn't record building the parking lot, mostly because it's far from finished, but also because it takes a whole lot of time to build it, and it's really not that interesting to look at. So which is why I didn't record it. But of course the ticket booths and the entrance logo will be shown, which you are seeing me build right now. And this is again something that changed with Allure Hills, is that it's a bit different. It's a bit it has more of its own theme instead of the Disney thing that it was previously. And again, that isn't a bad thing, but because I wanted to be more original, I had to build it in a more original sense. So that's why I did this. And this is a style of ticket booths, which is a whole lot of parks actually. I think PortAventura, Europa Park, and well, a whole lot of other parks which I'm not familiar with probably have this style of ticket booths. So yeah, basically you have ticket booths, and next to it is like a little entrance way which you can walk through immediately through if you already have tickets or anything. So which I did, and I themed it a little bit around like a garden with a little pergola and some hanging vines around it. And so we've got 4 buildings in total, which means there are 8 ticket booths, and it's just just a little bit themed, and with the square and everything around it, it will look really cool. I promise you that. So you'll see me place there the entrance. It's it's much closer to the real. It's much closer to the parking lot this time, and you will see that I will take every space I can to actually make the park be at its best. I really want to try and get the best out of it, which is why I then started with laying out everything I wanted to do with the park. So I laid it out the main street with small 1 meter high walls. And I then started to make individual buildings. So you will see me building right now the entrance of the park. And this is a small change from the Buena Vista Street, of course. Because this bridge is in the Buena Vista Street, but it is an entrance. It's just a small bridge which which holds up the monorail, which is going through the resorts. And but this is just the entrance for me. I don't know if I'm going to go with a transportation system, and if so, if it's going to go over the bridge. It would be a nice feature, but I don't think it would work. So I just started with this bridge and as an entrance, and it looks so much. It looks really cool from the outside and from the other side. So I'm very happy with it. And the bridge itself also came out to be very successful in a sense that I was very happy with how it turned out. And so I had some struggles with it, especially with the shape and being in the correct angles and stuff like that. But it turned out pretty cool, and I'm very happy with it. So yeah, so that you'll see me build in a second. And then of course, because this is the entrance, and right next to it the information kiosks, which you see on the left hand side, are information kiosk, and this is like the guest service where people can go and collect their lost and found stuff, or go for if they want season passes or anything like that, or they can go over there. And then on the right side is the security depot, and then also you can rent some strollers or wheelchairs or anything like that over there. I don't know if I'm actually going to make an interior for that, or if it's going to be an open space with a roof on it, or that it will just be in a facade and be imaginable. I don't really know how it's going to turn out. I didn't really start in that building yet, but I start laying out, and that's one of the things that I really think is important, that laying out what you want to do and then later on start with how it will turn out in the end. So of course the bridge in California Adventure is inspired by the Hyperion Bridge in Los Angeles. I believe it's one of the first things Walt Disney saw when he entered Los Angeles, when he came to live there. I believe that's why they picked that bridge in particular. And the whole, like I said in one of the first episodes of Allure Hills, the whole street resembles Los Angeles in the 1920s, 1930s, when Walt came to live there. And it also features the Carface Circle Theater, which was a theater which premiered a lot of Disney films, and I think Snow White, the first film, Disney film of course, premiered there. So yeah, talking about that, in the previous park, it was most definitely the weenie of the park, as Disney and Silverette would say. And it's going to come back in this version of the park as well. And it's definitely going to be an eye catcher in the main street, but it will be located a bit differently. And I think the best way to talk about it is in the sense that it's a bit of the same in Disney's Hollywood Studios. Don't really know what it's called, but I think it's in Anaheim where the Hollywood Studios are, where you have this street, I think it's the Sunset Boulevard, and it also holds a replica of the Carface Circle Theater, but over there it's on the corner of a street, and it's much smaller and stuff like that, and it looks really cute and good over there, but I think it's a little bit smaller, and of course it's not like the one in California Adventure, which is really majestic, but that's basically the idea I want to go with. So it's going to be on the corner of the street, or it's going to be on the corner of the street, and after that we are going to basically see where it's going to go from there. So this isn't much of a square or anything, sorry for that. It's just a small street with a lake at the end of it. I don't know if I can explain it that well. You will see it in the end, and I think we'll spend a lot of episodes in this part of the park, since I haven't started anything else. And damn, I'm rambling. Sorry for this. But basically, the Carface Circle Theater is going to be back, and much like anything else in the park, it's going to build from scratch. Because I think I haven't talked about this so far, but anything in the park, any building that I previously built most of them are going to return in the park, but they are going to be built from scratch, mostly because I can do much better now, and I've learned some techniques, and I use those techniques much better, that I found a way to actually get them right, and using that technique I can use or make a whole lot of buildings so much better than I previously did. So for example, the market that I'm working on right now is one of the better buildings in the original street or original park, and in the first version of Allure Hills I built it with in-game walls. So we've got, I think there was like 20 separate buildings for just one small 2 meter wide building. So I wanted to change that, and now you'll see that most of the buildings itself are going to be located instead of one grid, and they are all going to be made up out of the I lost my words. They are all going to be in one building or one blueprints, and they are going to be made out of the windows, the technique that I talked about earlier, which Advo TV and Free Bear use in their Teleco project, and that I used for my builds as well. And since I use that technique a lot lately, I thought, okay, it would be nice to have it over here as well and use it in a new version, which you'll see me doing right here. And it was kind of a struggle because it's very much to scale right now, and it's much better to scale than the previous version again. But it also was kind of a struggle because of course you have some clipping objects and stuff like that, and the hitboxes are a bit difficult to work with, but I shouldn't complain too much because I'm still very happy with how everything turned out. And yeah, it's so much better than the previous version. So yeah, and yeah, that's basically it for what I have talking about. I'm losing my words, so I think it's better if I stop the commentary over here. There is still plenty of time lapse left to watch, and what you see me do is finish this building and start the building right next to it, which is the arcade in the original street, and it's just a facade in my street. But you'll see me building that next, and that's basically all we are going to do. I will see you at the end of the video though, as we go over the 3 buildings that we did, or 4 buildings, 5 buildings, I don't really know. We go over what we built so far, and I will explain a little bit more about what's going to happen with the main street and maybe the rest of the park as well. So I will see you at the end of the video. If you want to skip to that, you can go, of course, go search for that moment. And if you're gonna leave the video right now, that's also fine. And I hope to see you then. Well, okay. So I'm signing off, and I'll see you at the end of the video. Bye bye. Hey guys, and welcome to the live portion of this video, where I'm going to show off the little bits that I did in the park, and also going to explain a little bit how the park is going to evolve, or what I'm going for with this park, or at least the Main Street area. So we'll start over at the beginning. As you can see, I did build a lot of camera, for example the entire parking lot, which is over here, and a little bit of the pathing around the ticket booths. So the basic idea is that you come in from here where the park entrance is, and then go straight through towards the let's say the ticket booths, and if you already have tickets purchased online or something, you can just go straight on to the park. But something that I really liked in other parks, which I viewed on the workshop, and which was an idea that I had for the original park as well, was to have a parking lot of some sorts. So that's what I'm trying to build over here, and the idea is that the road is coming in from over here, and that the parking lot will spread out towards this side. So we'll see about that when it's going to work. I don't think I'm going to record everything of it, because that's not that interesting to watch, and it's basically mass production. So it's basically copying out what I already built and just doing a lot of path work, because these are functioning paths, of course, as you can see. But I don't think people actually go and walk over there, because they go straight in over here, because it won't connect to the actual park itself. So we've got the ticket booths over here. They are a bit Mediterranean stylish. They're a bit more brown and more different than the original idea I had for this. But I think they look much better. I really like how this logo turned out as well. It was in a previous park, but now it looks much better, I believe, with the little fountains around it. Then after that we have got a big square over here with a fountain in the middle. The fountain itself was already in a park. I just placed it down here right now. And then we have like the guest information. We get some season passes or fast passes and stuff like that. And then on the other side there will be like a stroller, wheelchair, and security building and stuff like that. It's not much, just the basic things you will find near the entrance of the park. And then of course we've got the entrance, which is this bridge, like I said, the Hyperion Bridge, I believe it's called. And it looks really good, and I really like how it turned out. And it was a lot of work, especially with this curve, but I think it turned out well. And especially with the vines around the columns, it looks much better. It brings the entire build to life. So that's basically the entrance of the park. And the exit, of course. And then right on the left hand side, if you enter the park that is, you will find the market and the arcade building. These were in the previous park as well, but of course in the previous park you enter via this side. But this time it's much better, and it looks much better. And again, this market is like a fresh fruit place where you can get fresh fruits, which would be displayed in these baskets, I believe, things, and you will can get them over here and stuff like that. It's not much, and it won't be working in the end, but it's just a fun little thing, and I like it. Yeah, it's turned out really great, and because of the bridge that I built over here, it's much more to scale with the original building as well, because the previous one was a little bit small. I think if someone would stand under here, it would already touch the ceiling over here, so it was a bit smaller. Now it's much more in scale with the real thing and the bridge, of course. So that's the thing I like. It also makes the buildings a bit taller, which allows me to make all the buildings in the park a bit taller in other areas as well. It's something that I struggled with in the previous park. And then next to it is of course the arcade. This isn't a functional building, it's just a little thing, but I put a shop in there because of course the market itself isn't functioning, so I thought it would be nice to have a shop over here as well, so people can actually buy stuff in the main street, which is something you need to do actually, I believe. So otherwise the main street wouldn't have a purpose. And then of course nothing else was built, but the idea is there, and I laid it out pretty well, I believe, so we'll get over it. But the basic idea is the same as in the previous park. So next to the arcade building and the little shop there that's in there, there will be a locker depot over here, and then next to it is just a bit of employee and access or stuff, or I don't know. It's not functional, it's just a small little building. And then right next to it is the toilet building. It's the biggest building, I believe, in the main street. Definitely now it is. I also believe it's the biggest one in the Buena Vista Street, the original park, and it's a beautiful building, and I'm going to do my best to make it work. And because in the previous park I had some struggles with it, and it doesn't really look how I wanted it. So that's another thing I wanted to try to make it more look like the real thing and make a much better work out of it. And then of course we also have this tower with the ATM in front of it, which you might have seen a picture of already. So yeah, it's going to look great, and I hope I succeed in making it better than the previous version, but I believe I will. So we'll see that in a future episode, I believe. And then of course we've got the tram station over here, or the trolley station. Of course there won't be a trolley in this version because it can't go anywhere in this park or in this main street, but it's a nice little notch, and I thought it would be nice to have it with these benches in front of them. I basically pulled the building from the previous park, but of course I changed a little bit of it instead of the rocks that were on here, I just pulled the chimneys on them, and it looks much better now. I think this was a suggestion by Sarton, which did that in private, so it looks much better now. And yeah, I'm very happy with it. So that's basically this side of Main Street, and then on the other side we've got a little building over here. I think this will be the guest service for in the park, where you can collect the glass and fountain and stuff like that, and get some fast passes again. It's just the basic stuff you will find in Main Street. Next to it will be a bakery, and of course the 5 and dime shop, which will be a gift shop over the entire bank over here. I'm like I said before, I'm not sure if I'm going to do interiors. I want to, but not really sure if it will work out in the small spaces I have over here. So we'll see about that. At first, the first thing I will do is, of course, build the exterior. So the things you will see during when you're walking around in the Main Street, and we'll see about if I'm going to go with an interior or not. So then we've got just another facade for the Main Street. And then over here we've got the first aid kit, and then maybe I will put something over here as well. Maybe a shop, maybe another toilet building. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do over here, but there will probably be something over here. And then of course the location for the Causeway Circle feeder. Like I said in the time lapse, it is a bit different location. Of course, it's part of the street now instead of the centerpiece of the park, and it will also be a little bit smaller than the previous version of it, but much more detailed, I believe, and or at least I will try to make it a bit more detailed than the previous version, even though that one was pretty detailed already. So yeah, we'll see about that. I think I will make an entire episode of the feeder, because it's, and especially the tower, is a lot of work. So we'll see how that turns out. And then of course the main plaza over here, where I think I'm going to put the merry-go-round around here. I don't really know how it's called, but I think it's the merry-go-round, and I think I'm going to do that. I'm not really sure how it will work out and how it will look, but I think it would be nice to have a ride in here as well, that people can visit before or after they enter the park or something. So that's basically the Main Street. Like I said, it's a lot smaller than the previous version, though I think it's the best version of the Main Street that I'm going to build over here. It will look the best. It's, in my opinion, it's the best version of the best part of the Main Street in California Adventure, but that's my opinion, of course. So what we'll do after that, after we finish the Main Street, we will go into the park. What I had in mind, and I said this in the Main Street as well, in that time lapse as well, is that I want to have a lake in the middle of the park, so it would be around here, and that you, once leaving the Main Street or from the Main Street, you could see that lake, and then around the lake will be the main path, and that will lead to different themed areas. But I'm not really sure if I'm going to go with that approach. I might also do a forest or something over there, but I won't be doing like a Disney-esque weenie or stuff like that, like the Buena Vista Cafe Circle feeder, was in the original park, and like Disney Castle. I won't be doing anything like that. I think has been done too much before. So yeah, I'm going to go with something else. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do or how it will look, but I think it will be better if I'm going with a lake or something like that, even though a lake has been used a lot of times since. I think it's even more, at least in the Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 and Planet Coaster world, it's a lot more done than Disney Coaster, I believe. But anyway, I think I'm going to go with that. Again, I'm not really sure if and how that's going to work out, but we'll see about that in the future, of course. And yeah, so that's basically it. That's all I had time for this week, or this episode. Next episode we are going to work some more on the Main Street again. Like I said, I want to finish the Main Street, or at least the most parts of the Main Street, before going on to other areas of the park. So you will see me building a lot more of the Main Street in the coming episodes. So yeah, that's basically the idea that I had for the park. As said, I'm very happy with the results so far. I think the buildings are much better now, even though they were great in the beginning.
But that's all that I have time for this episode. If you like this video, of course, let me know down in the comments. And also contact me on Twitter if you want to get in touch or have some feedback on this project. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel to catch all the latest videos and projects. And also follow me on Twitter to catch all the news and maybe some teasers for the future. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.